It may have originally come out in 2018, but Among Us took 2020 by storm, and it's deserving of that spotlight. Inner Sloth has made the tense multiplayer fun of in-person cloak and dagger games like Mafia and Werewolf work on PC, mobile, and console with a flourish. And the great times I've had slaying, lying, and sleuthing my way through its charming sci-fi world got me wondering why it took so long for this sort of game to appear. There are still a few technical hitches to be worked out, just like the fussy engines on the Skeld, but that hasn't kept me from coming back to it again and again in my downtime. The premise of Among Us is simple enough that just about anyone can pick it up quickly. 8 crew members dash around this claustrophobic cartoon spaceship to complete simple minigames and fill up a shared progress bar. But among them are 2 hidden imposters with the goal of secretly murdering everyone until they equal or outnumber the crew and gain victory. And yet, like so many excellent multiplayer games, it's very tricky to master because it's all about fooling people, not gaming an AI. You can't even fall back on the same successful strategies too often or your opponents will catch on. So sometimes you have to mix things up and maybe even act illogically to keep them guessing. The art is very whimsical, with the bulbous, quirky astronauts stumbling around engine bays and reactor decks that look like the doodles I used to do in the margins of my notes in school. This is effective for a couple of reasons. For one, it keeps the mood pretty light, which is important in a game where you're being lied to and lying to your friends every single round. It's hard to take getting ganked in the middle of a task for the 5th time too personally when the animation for your demise makes you laugh after you're done yelling. The art style also makes interacting with the various machines and doodads on the map intuitive and enjoyable. I was able to drop into my first match and get a decent grasp of what was going on without needing much help. The tasks the crew will be rushing to complete present a good variety of tiny mini-games, from finishing a simple maze to connecting colored wires. Most of them will test memory or hand-eye coordination in a way that requires you to keep your cool, which can be a challenge when you know there are murderers running around out for your blood. The fact that most of the mini-games cover up a significant portion of your screen is a really effective way to build tension too. Even tasks like download, which just makes you sit and watch a progress bar fill up, have me going, come on, come on! Any movement at the edges of my monitor could mean impending death, and you know skilled imposters will use these blind spots to their advantage. Playing as the imposter is definitely the most fun for me, and it requires a variety of skills to do well. Isolating your target so no one witnesses the crime is the easiest way to get away with it. But if you do get caught by only one other person, being able to pin the kill on them by lying over in-game text chat or an external voice app like Discord can save you from being cast out. Imposters can also use the well-placed vents on each map to flee the scene, but you have to be careful not to be spotted in 2 disconnected rooms in a way that makes it clear you took a shortcut. But I enjoy being on the other side as well. As a crewmate, it's a thrilling detective game to try and keep track of where everyone is, who they were with, and poke holes in their alibis at each meeting in a way that will convince the other players to vote them off the ship. It works so well in part because the default map, the Skeld, is very well balanced. There's a clever circular layout, a mix of bottlenecks and open spaces, and just enough room for imposters to maneuver unseen if you're not watching them at that moment. The other 2, Mira HQ and Polis, are a bit too fragmented and spread out, which can give the imposters a big advantage. That hasn't been too big a problem for me though, because the wide variety of game options allow you to tweak things in the crew or the imposter's favor, with toggles like anonymous voting and confirming someone's role when they're ejected. This also offers flexible difficulty when playing with a group of more or less experienced killers. There are still some technical issues. Finding a match can be frustrating since the clunky, dated browser only shows you a limited number of lobbies at a time. It can be tricky to find games that aren't already full or are a long way from getting there, and the fact that there's no mechanic to punish players who rage quit when they don't get to play as imposter or are caught dead to rights in the middle of a murder. Those can lead entire rounds to premature, unsatisfying endings. A quick match button and some way to disincentivize quitters, like a timeout before you can join another match if you quit in the middle too often, would both go a long way. Among Us lives up to the hype created by its explosion in popularity for the most part. It's a style of intense, refreshing multiplayer experience that simply didn't catch on digitally before now. Its well-earned following speaks to just how enticing, murdering, and deceiving your friends can be, as well as Innersloth's endearing art, approachability, and clever minigame design. I don't have any sus that this will be the last game of its breed to make a splash, since we're already seeing its influence on even mega hits like Fortnite, but it's the breakout moment for the genre, and it's a great first impression. For more multiplayer gaming, check out our reviews of the multiplayer modes for Star Wars Squadrons and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And for everything else, stick with IGN.